Hey coin lovers! Welcome to the Worth Old Coins channel, your place to discover the hidden value and rare facts about old coins. In today's video we're revealing the top 5 valuable coins, and one of them might just be in your collection. So don't skip this video, let's find out their real worth. Top 1. The American 5-cent coin of 1977, commonly known as the Jefferson Nickel, is one of the most recognizable and widely used coins in United States history, carrying with it both the legacy of the nation's founding ideals and the practical needs of everyday commerce in the late 20th century. The nickel had first been introduced in 1866 after the Civil War, replacing the older silver half-dime, and by 1977 it had already been in circulation for over a century, firmly established as a standard denomination used daily in transactions such as bus fares, vending machines, pay telephones, and countless retail exchanges. The 1977 nickel belongs to the long-running Jefferson Nickel series, first introduced in 1938, which replaced the earlier Buffalo nickel. On the obverse of the 1977 issue, we see a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, 1801 to 1809, principal author of the Declaration of Independence and a key figure in shaping America's early democracy. This portrait was created by sculptor Felix Schlag, whose design won a national competition in 1938. Jefferson's profile is presented in a neoclassical style with carefully sculpted features that convey intelligence, dignity, and leadership. Along the left side of the coin, curving around Jefferson's head, appears the national motto, "In God We Trust," while on the right-hand side, running vertically behind his profile, is the simple inscription "Liberty," followed by the date 1977 struck in bold numerals. Just below the date may appear a mint mark, D, for the Denver Mint, S, for San Francisco, proof coins, or no mint mark for the Philadelphia Mint, which produced the largest share of circulation strikes that year. These mint marks allow collectors to identify the origin of each coin, adding an important layer of numismatic interest. The reverse design of the 1977 nickel features an image of Monticello Jefferson's historic home in Virginia, which he designed himself in the style of neoclassical architecture inspired by ancient Rome and Renaissance ideals. The building is depicted with its central dome and portico clearly visible, symbolizing Jefferson's dual legacy as both a statesman and an architect of liberty. Above the depiction of Monticello appears the Latin-inspired motto, E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, a phrase reflecting the unity of the American states into a single nation. Below the building in a straight line is the name Monticello identifying the structure, and beneath it is the denomination spelled out as 5 cents. The very bottom of the coin is the inscription United States of America encircling the lower edge. This reverse design, like the obverse, was created by Felix Schlag, and it had been in continuous use since 1938 with only minor adjustments over the decades. The combination of Jefferson and Monticello reflects America's respect for its founding fathers and its emphasis on unity, liberty, and national identity. From a technical perspective, the 1977 5-cent coin was composed of a copper-nickel alloy consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded in a homogeneous mixture that gave the coin its distinctive silvery appearance, though without containing any actual silver. The coin has a standard weight of 5 grams, a diameter of 21.21 millimeters, and a thickness of 1.95 millimeters with a smooth plain edge rather than a reeded one. These specifications had been consistent since the Jefferson Nickel's introduction in 1938 and have remained standard into the 21st century. In 1977, the Philadelphia Mint struck well over 297 million nickels, while the Denver Mint produced more than 375 million, making the coin plentiful in circulation. The San Francisco Mint struck proof coins in smaller numbers for collectors, which were distributed in special mint and proof sets rather than circulation. Because of these enormous mintages, most 1977 nickels today are extremely common and worth only their face value in circulated condition, though high-grade mint state, MS, examples or proof coins with sharp detail and mirrored surfaces can command collector interest. Historically, the 1977 Jefferson Nickel sits within a period of relative stability in U.S. coinage. Unlike the cent, which had undergone design changes and compositional experiments, the nickel remained largely unchanged, providing consistency and familiarity to the public. At the same time, coins like the 1977 nickel played a critical role in the everyday economy of America during the late 1970s, a decade marked by economic challenges, inflation, and shifting social and political landscapes. For the average person, the nickel was a small but essential part of daily transactions, often paired with pennies, dimes, and quarters to make exact change in an era before electronic payments and credit cards dominated. From a cultural standpoint, carrying Jefferson's portrait on millions of coins reinforced the connection between America's founding ideals of liberty, democracy, and unity with the practical currency people used every day. Monticello on the reverse tied the coin to Jefferson's personal life and intellectual achievements, reminding the public of his role not only as a president but also as a thinker, inventor, and architect. End conclusion. The 1977 American 5-cent coin, or Jefferson nickel, is more than just a small piece of base metal worth 5 cents. It is a symbol of America's history, honoring one of its most influential founding fathers while also serving as a workhorse of the nation's economy during the late 20th century. It reflects the artistry of Felix Schlag, whose designs have endured for decades, and it embodies the enduring values expressed in mottos like "In God We Trust" and "E Pluribus Unum." While common and inexpensive in today's numismatic market, its true value lies in its history, design, and role in the everyday life of the American people. For collectors, historians, or simply those with an interest in coins, the 1977 Jefferson Nickel is a fascinating artifact of its time, a coin that links commerce, culture, and heritage in a small but powerful way, a reminder that even the humblest denomination carries with it a rich story of the nation it represents. Top 2. The American 5-cent coin of 1990 with the Philadelphia Mint mark, P, widely known as the Jefferson Nickel, stands as one of the most enduring and recognizable denominations in modern U.S. coinage, representing not only monetary value but also a rich connection to American history, culture, and the artistry of mid-20th century coin design. The Jefferson Nickel series had been introduced in 1938 to replace the beloved but difficult-to-strike Buffalo nickel, and it remained unchanged in design for over 6 decades, making the 1990 P issue part of this long tradition that the American public came to trust and identify with. The obverse, or front, of the coin features the left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, 1801 to 1809, founding father, principal author of the Declaration of Independence, and an enduring symbol of liberty and democratic ideals. This portrait was designed by German-born American sculptor Felix Schlag, who won the official competition in 1938, and his neoclassical style representation of Jefferson highlights sharp cheekbones, thoughtful expression, and carefully modeled hair, embodying both dignity and strength. On this 1990 issue, the inscriptions remain consistent with tradition. The motto, "In God We Trust," appears along the left rim. Jefferson's name is omitted because his likeness alone is iconic enough, while to the right of his profile we find the word "Liberty," written in a script style, followed by the date 1990, and next to it the mint mark, P, indicating production at the Philadelphia Mint, which was the first U.S. mint founded in 1792 and by 1990 still one of the largest coin-producing facilities in the world. This P mint mark is especially significant because Philadelphia only began placing its mark on nickels in 1980, so by 1990 the practice was still relatively recent compared to centuries of earlier minting without such identification. The reverse of the 1990 P. Jefferson Nickel continues to display the stately image of Monticello Jefferson's historic plantation home near Charlottesville, Virginia, which he designed himself, drawing on inspiration from classical Roman and Renaissance architecture. Schlag's rendering shows the front view of the mansion with its dome columns and steps in a clean and balanced design, symbolizing Jefferson not only as a statesman but also as an architect and visionary. Above the building is the Latin-inspired national motto "E Pluribus Unum," meaning "out of many one," a phrase celebrating the unity of the American states into one nation. Beneath the building is the word Monticello to clearly identify the structure, followed by the denomination spelled as 5 cents, and finally along the bottom curve of the coin is the inscription "United States of America." These inscriptions, together with the design, provide both functional clarity and symbolic meaning, reminding every holder of the coin that it is more than a token of value, it is a small monument to America's founding ideals. From a technical standpoint, the 1990 P nickel adheres to the long-standing specifications of the Jefferson Nickel series. It was struck from a copper-nickel alloy consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it a silvery appearance without containing any actual silver. The coin weighs 5 grams, has a diameter of 21.21 millimeters, and a thickness of 1.95 millimeters with a plain edge rather than a reeded one like that of the dime or quarter. These specifications have remained consistent since 1938, ensuring interchangeability and reliability in commerce. In terms of mintage, the Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 661 million Jefferson Nickels in 1990, a massive quantity, reflecting the continuing central role of coins in daily economic life at a time when debit cards and electronic payments were only just beginning to emerge. This large mintage means that 1990 P nickels are today extremely common, with most examples still only worth face value in circulated condition. However, for collectors, the story changes when considering high-grade coins or proof-like strikes. Mint state, MS-65 and above, examples with sharp details, full luster, and minimal marks can bring premiums, and rare errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, or full-step Monticello reverses, where the steps are fully visible and undisturbed, can be sought after by numismatists and specialists. Proof versions of 1990 nickels struck in San Francisco with an S mint mark exist in specially packaged collector sets, but the P coins were made for mass circulation, meaning they carry the marks of everyday life, a history etched into the scratches, wear, and patina of countless transactions in historical and cultural context. The 1990 P. Jefferson Nickel reflects America in the early 1990s, a nation undergoing rapid technological change, shifting global influence after the Cold War and preparing for a new century, yet still grounded in the symbols and traditions of its founding era. The nickel was one of the most commonly used coins in vending machines, pay telephones, arcades, buses, and toll booths, making it a practical companion for millions of Americans in daily life. Unlike the penny, which was increasingly seen as too small in value, or the dollar coin, which struggled to gain acceptance, the 5-cent piece remained indispensable. And yet, beyond its economic utility, the coin carried with it the constant reminder of Jefferson's legacy, the pursuit of liberty, education, and enlightened governance, as well as the architectural elegance of Monticello, which had become both a historical site and a symbol of Jefferson's creativity. For many collectors today, holding a 1990 P nickel evokes not only the transactions of the past, but also the continuity of American coinage across generations. In conclusion, the 1990 P Jefferson nickel is far more than a small base metal coin valued at 5 cents. It is a tangible link between the founding principles of the United States and the everyday lives of Americans at the close of the 20th century. With Jefferson's thoughtful profile on the obverse and Monticello's neoclassical lines on the reverse, the coin embodies history, artistry, and utility in a single compact form. Though common in numbers, its true worth lies in the story it tells of Felix Schlag's enduring design of the Philadelphia Mint's vast production, of the millions of hands through which it passed, and of the ideals it quietly represents with every exchange. For collectors, historians, and casual observers alike, the 1990 P. Jefferson Nickel remains a fascinating artifact of numismatic and cultural history, a small but enduring witness to America's journey. Top 3. The American 5-cent coin of 1981, bearing the D mint mark, commonly referred to as the Jefferson Nickel, is an iconic piece of United States coinage that continues the long-standing tradition of honoring Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, principal author of the Declaration of Independence, statesman, philosopher, and founder of the University of Virginia. First introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel, the Jefferson Nickel series was designed by the talented German-American sculptor Felix Schlag, who won the Treasury Department's design competition, and his artistry remained untouched for over 6 decades, with the 1981 D issue still carrying his original work. On the obverse side or front, we see the left-facing profile of Jefferson depicted with noble features, high cheekbones, a calm yet thoughtful expression, and neatly tied hair that reflects neoclassical elegance, suggesting wisdom, dignity, and leadership. Along the left edge of the coin is inscribed the national motto, "In God We Trust," which serves as a spiritual and patriotic affirmation, while to the right of Jefferson's portrait runs the word liberty written in a distinctive script style, followed by a separating star and the date 1981. Just beside the date, slightly lower on Jefferson's neckline, rests the important D mint mark, identifying this coin as being struck at the Denver Mint, one of the primary production facilities of the U.S. Mint system. The Denver Mint, operational since 1906, was responsible for striking a massive number of circulating coins, and in 1981 it struck hundreds of millions of nickels, reflecting the enormous demand for coins in daily transactions during that period. On the reverse side, the coin proudly displays Jefferson's famous Virginia home, Monticello, a neoclassical mansion designed by Jefferson himself, symbolizing not only his architectural genius but also his devotion to Enlightenment ideals and a cultured vision of the young American Republic. The mansion's front facade is depicted in clean detail, with its dome, steps, and columns beneath which lies the bold capitalized word Monticello to identify the building. Above Monticello arches the timeless Latin phrase E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, a motto celebrating the unity of the states under one nation. Below the building is the coin's denomination, 5 cents, clearly stating its value, and at the bottom rim runs the inscription United States of America, uniting the design with clarity and authority. This balanced arrangement of inscriptions with imagery gives the coin both artistic beauty and functional practicality. Technically, the 1981 D. Jefferson Nickel was struck to the same specifications that had been standard since 1938, composed of a copper-nickel alloy of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving the coin its silver-gray color and durability without containing any actual silver. The coin weighs 5 grams, measures 21.21 millimeters in diameter, and has a plain edge rather than a reeded one, making it distinct from dimes and quarters. In terms of mintage, the Denver Mint struck approximately 441,602,000 nickels in 1981, a very high number that ensured these coins became commonplace in commerce across the United States, found in change purses, cash registers, vending machines, arcade tokens, bus fares, and toll booths. This massive output means that in ordinary circulated condition most 1981 D nickels are worth only their face value of 5 cents today. However, for collectors the story takes on nuance when considering condition strike quality and rare errors. Coins graded at mint state, MS 65 or higher, by professional services such as PCGS or NGC, which exhibit sharp details, full luster and minimal bag marks, are scarcer and therefore command collector premiums. An especially desirable feature for Jefferson nickel specialists is the presence of full steps on Monticello's base, meaning all the steps are fully struck and visible without wear or weakness, a rarity for many years, including 1981, making such examples considerably more valuable to numismatists. Additionally, error coins from this year, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or misaligned dies, hold significant interest and may fetch high prices depending on rarity and condition. Culturally, the 1981 D nickel represents America at the dawn of the 1980s, a decade marked by economic challenges, the presidency of Ronald Reagan, the final years of the Cold War, and technological shifts that would reshape society. Yet amidst change, the Jefferson nickel remained a stable, trusted coin in the pockets of millions of Americans. For many, it was used daily in payphones, laundromats, movie arcades, and for small purchases at a time before debit cards or electronic payments became widespread. Its durability and ubiquity made it one of the most familiar coins of its era, passed through countless hands while quietly carrying with it symbols of America's democratic foundation. Jefferson's portrait continued to inspire reflections on liberty, reason, and leadership, while Monticello reminded the nation of the balance between private vision and public service. For collectors today, the 1981 D Jefferson nickel is both an affordable entry point into numismatics and a piece of history tied to the continuity of American coinage traditions. In summary, the 1981 D Jefferson nickel is far more than a common 5-cent piece struck for mass circulation. It is a living connection to America's founding values, Jefferson's intellectual and political legacy, and the artistry of Felix Schlag's timeless design. Its widespread availability may make it seem ordinary, yet within its copper-nickel surface lies a story of the United States Mint's industrial scale, the daily economic rhythms of 20th-century America, and the endurance of numismatic symbols that carried meaning from 1938 well into the late 20th century. Whether preserved in pristine mint state or worn smooth from decades of use, each 1981 D nickel tells a story of continuity, history, and the humble yet essential role of coinage in American life. Top 4. The American 5-cent coin of 1960, popularly known as the Jefferson nickel, is one of the most recognizable and enduring coins in United States history, continuing a design tradition that began in 1938 and lasted virtually unchanged for more than 6 decades. Struck at multiple mints including Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, marked with a D, and San Francisco, with an S. The 1960 Jefferson nickel stands as a representative piece of early Cold War America when the country was experiencing post-war economic growth, suburban expansion, and heightened global influence, while everyday coins like the nickel quietly circulated through the pockets and hands of millions of Americans. The coin's obverse, front, features the left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, primary author of the Declaration of Independence, and a statesman deeply associated with the ideals of liberty, republicanism, and enlightened thought. This portrait was created by sculptor Felix Schlag, whose design was selected in 1938 after a national competition to replace the earlier Buffalo nickel, and by 1960 it had become a familiar sight in American life. The portrait shows Jefferson in a neoclassical style with sharp cheekbones, carefully tied hair at the back, and a solemn contemplative expression that conveys dignity, intellect, and leadership. To the left of Jefferson's face is the inscription, "In God We Trust," a motto that had become increasingly symbolic in mid-20th century America, especially during the Cold War era, as a spiritual counterbalance to atheist ideologies. To the right of the portrait runs the word liberty in a distinctive script style, followed by the year 1960, separated by a small star. On coins from Denver and San Francisco, a small mintmark letter, D or S, appears just to the right of Jefferson's ponytail, while Philadelphia coins carry no mintmark. The reverse, back, of the coin is equally iconic, featuring Jefferson's beloved Virginia home Monticello, a neoclassical mansion that Jefferson designed himself, symbolizing not only his architectural genius but also his vision of enlightened living and Republican ideals. The depiction of Monticello is frontal, showing its columned entrance steps and rounded dome, engraved with fine details that highlight both strength and elegance. Above Monticello arcs the inscription E pluribus unum, the Latin motto meaning out of many one, which celebrates the unity of the American states. Beneath the mansion lies the word Monticello, identifying the building, and directly below it is the denomination 5 cents. At the bottom rim is inscribed United States of America, binding the design together with clarity and authority. This arrangement of text and architecture balances patriotism, artistic expression, and practical information, allowing the coin to serve both as a medium of commerce and a miniature piece of national symbolism. Technically, the 1960 Jefferson nickel was struck to the long-established specifications of the denomination, composed of a durable copper-nickel alloy of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving the coin its silvery gray color and resistance to wear. It weighs 5 grams, has a diameter of 21.21 millimeters, and features a plain edge with no reading distinguishing it from smaller silver dimes and larger quarters. This composition had been in place since the coin's introduction in 1938, with only brief interruptions during World War II when silver alloy nickels were produced to conserve nickel for military use. By 1960, however, America was fully back to the standard copper-nickel alloy, and the Jefferson nickel had become an everyday workhorse of the nation's currency. The mintage figures for 1960 were substantial, reflecting the demands of a growing consumer economy. Over 55 million nickels were struck at Philadelphia, more than 192 million at Denver, and around 2.8 million proof coins at Philadelphia intended for collectors. Together, this meant hundreds of millions of 1960 nickels circulated widely, making them very common in commerce at the time. In terms of collectability and value, most 1960 Jefferson nickels remain abundant in circulated grades, usually worth only their face value of 5 cents. However, uncirculated examples, especially those preserved in pristine condition with sharp luster, can carry collector premiums. Of particular interest are coins graded MS 65 or higher, and those with a desirable full steps designation on Monticello's base, where all the steps are fully struck without weakness. Such coins are scarce because the dies of that era often produced weak strikes, and so nickels with full detail are prized by specialists. The 1960 proof nickels struck with extra care for collectors also remain popular, especially in deep cameo contrast. Error coins such as double dies, off-center strikes, or clipped planchets also add intrigue to this issue, and some can fetch significant sums depending on rarity and condition. Historically and culturally, the 1960 Jefferson nickel represents a period when the U.S. Mint was producing coinage at massive scales to meet the needs of a cash-driven economy. It circulated during an age of jukeboxes, payphones, vending machines, and bus fares, when a nickel still had real spending power and could buy a soda, a candy bar, or several songs at a diner jukebox. For many Americans, the 1960 nickel was a coin they used daily without thinking, yet it carried with it subtle reminders of national identity, Jefferson's vision of liberty. Monticello as a symbol of intellectual independence, and inscriptions affirming unity and trust in God. It was part of the fabric of everyday American life at a time when coins rather than digital transactions mediated nearly all small-scale commerce. In the broader numismatic legacy, the 1960 nickel is both ordinary and meaningful. Ordinary because of its large mintage and widespread availability, yet meaningful as part of the enduring Jefferson Nickel series, one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage history. It links collectors and everyday citizens alike to the mid-20th century American story, combining art, history, economics, and culture into a small, durable object that passed from hand to hand countless times, whether found today in circulation tucked into an old jar of coins, or preserved in a collector's album. The 1960 Jefferson Nickel carries within its copper-nickel shell a tangible connection to the lives, values, and history of the United States during a dynamic era of change and progress. Top 5. The American 5-cent coin of 1964, commonly known as the Jefferson Nickel, holds a very special place in U.S. numismatic and monetary history, not only because of its sheer abundance, but also because it was the final year that the United States struck the Jefferson Nickel with the familiar mint marks placed on the reverse side before a major design adjustment came in 1965 as part of the mint's efforts to simplify coin production during the coin shortage crisis of the mid-1960s. The coin continued the enduring design first introduced in 1938, created by German-American sculptor Felix Schlag, who won the competition to replace the Buffalo nickel with a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, principal author of the Declaration of Independence and a symbol of American liberty, enlightenment, and Republican ideals. On the obverse front of the 1964 Jefferson Nickel is the left-facing bust of Jefferson, showing his strong profile with a solemn gaze, his hair tied back in a colonial queue, and his sharp facial features that suggest both intellect and leadership. Above his head, arched along the rim, is the national motto, "In God We Trust," while to the right is the word liberty written in a distinct cursive script, followed by the date 1964, separated by a small star. Just behind Jefferson's ponytail on coins struck at the Denver Mint appears the small D mint mark, while Philadelphia issues bore no mint mark at all. The reverse back of the coin features Jefferson's neoclassical home, Monticello, a stately mansion in Virginia that Jefferson himself designed, representing not only his personal architectural taste but also his vision of rational order and classical ideals. The building is shown front-facing with its columned portico, triangular pediment and dome rendered with crisp detail, though often weakly struck in mass production. Above the mansion is inscribed the Latin phrase, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many one, symbolizing the unity of the states, while directly below the building is the name Monticello. Beneath that .in large letters is the denomination 5 cents, and curving along the bottom rim are the words, United States of America. The 1964 nickel was struck to the standard specifications of the denomination, a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it a silvery gray metallic appearance, a diameter of 21.21 millimeters, a thickness of 1.95 millimeters, a weight of 5 grams, and a plain, smooth edge. However, what makes the 1964 nickel particularly remarkable is its massive production mintage, the highest of any Jefferson nickel year up to that point. The U.S. Mint struck over 1 billion nickels dated 1964, with about 1,028,622,762 coins from Philadelphia and 1,787,297,160 coins from Denver, along with specially made 1964 proof nickels, 3,950,762 pieces, for collectors. This unprecedented mintage was a response to the coin shortage crisis of the early 1960s, when vending machines, payphones, and a booming economy demanded more coinage than ever before. The shortage was so severe that in 1965, mint marks were temporarily removed to discourage hoarding, but 1964 nickels remained frozen in production, meaning that although struck through 1965 and even into early 1966, they all carried the 1964 date. This makes the 1964 nickel a unique issue, simultaneously common in circulation, yet historically significant in reflecting a transitional moment in American coinage. From a collector's perspective, most 1964 nickels are considered very common in circulated condition, typically worth only face value. However, in mint state, uncirculated, grades they become more desirable, especially with the coveted full steps designation on Monticello's staircase at the base of the building. Because most nickels of this period were weakly struck, sharp examples showing all 5 or 6 steps clearly are rare and can command high premiums. Coins in top grades like MS 65 to MS 67. Full steps are highly sought after and can be significantly more valuable than ordinary uncirculated pieces. Proof coins from 1964 struck at Philadelphia with mirrored surfaces and strong detail are also collectible, particularly those with deep cameo contrast. In addition, error coins from this year, such as double die obverse off-center strikes, and planchet flaws add intrigue and rarity to what is otherwise a very common date. Culturally, the 1964 Jefferson nickel circulated at a dynamic moment in U.S. history. It was the year of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the escalation of American involvement in Vietnam, and the final year of coinage before the U.S. Mint underwent dramatic changes in response to silver shortages and coin hoarding. The nickel, although not a silver coin, was directly affected by these pressures, since it was essential for everyday commerce, from paying bus fares to jukebox songs, vending machines, and movie tickets. It was a coin people carried daily, yet it carried with it the image of Jefferson, a founding father, and Monticello, a symbol of Enlightenment rationality, making every nickel not just a piece of money, but a small embodiment of America's identity and history, and the broader numismatic legacy. The 1964 Jefferson nickel stands as both ordinary and extraordinary. Ordinary because billions were minted, and it remains one of the most common coins in U.S. history, yet extraordinary because of its historical context, its link to the coin shortage crisis, its role as the last issue before mint mark relocation in 1965, and its enduring symbolism. Today, collectors often encounter 1964 nickels in old jars, rolls, and pocket change, and while most are worth little more than face value, pristine examples with sharp details, full steps, or proof finishes can reveal surprising value. Thus, the 1964 Jefferson nickel represents a turning point in American coinage, bridging the traditional era of abundant mid-century coinage with the transitional reforms of the late 1960s, while continuing the proud Jefferson design that has now spanned more than 8 decades in American history. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.